time is a man-made construct to have us understand and appreciate. So when you see a rose as it
Hmm.
deteriorates, if it doesn't deteriorate, you won't appreciate that rose as much as knowing that that
Yes.
time that we construct in our mind, that that will eventually fade, so you appreciate it. It's the same with life.
Yes.
Knowing that our life has a time limit because we created that time limit as we understand it,
Hmm.
we appreciate our existence and what we can do in our timeline so
Yes.
that we can make the world a better place.
Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. Thanks to Luxe Media Studios. I am in Beverly Hills. Oh my gosh. Today I'm very excited because you usually will see me in Inglewood, California, where my hometown is. But today is more important and special to me because I had a vision. And today the vision has manifested. Oh my gosh. So when you go to YouTube, to Luxe Media Studios, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Well, today we have, oh my God, a major, major, major cool guy in my heart. That is, his name is Sir Daniel Winn. And before we get into a bio, my family, my ancestors are from France. So how did you get the Sir?
Oh,
Please.
well, first of all, Reina, I'm so excited to be on this podcast and
Oh,
to
thank
share
you.
my journey, my history, and also my philosophy of what I want to leave behind as well. Title wise, in terms of Sir, that was pretty much a funny story, unexpected. I was knighted, actually. That's why the title from
Mm.
the Prince of Germany. And I think it was probably 4 years ago. I typically, for the last decades or more, I do a lot of charities. I go to charity events, do a lot of auction of my artwork and other artists, and raise millions of dollars for
Yes.
orphanages and elderly homes all over the world. And the son of the prince typically goes to some of these events and notices that I do this often. And then one of the event, he then decided to ask his assistant to ask me to go for dinner. So I went to dinner just to out of respect because he is the son of the Prince of Germany. And when we sat down, he asked a lot of questions. I didn't really realize until later that it was actually an interview, so to speak, to kind of vet me.
Wow.
And ultimately, he somehow relayed the message back to his parents. I had a second dinner with the son of the prince, and then that's when he informed me that he would like to ask his father to knight me for my philanthropic works as an artist.
Wow.
And I was actually surprised. I didn't, I actually had to do a double take and ask him, okay, what does that mean? And
Mm-hmm.
do I have to pay for something like this? I don't understand. And at that time, I didn't have a publicist yet,
Yes.
so I was on working solo. So the son of the prince says, "Oh no, this is something that you cannot buy at any dollar,"
Yes.
and the father has to, the prince actually had to vet it first as well. And he only knighted the father, Prince Wadamar, five people in his lifetime. He passed away a couple years ago during COVID, and I was the last person that he knighted for
Wow.
philanthropic work. And they actually gave me the option of either flying to Germany to get knighted. So in my mind, I'm thinking, are they gonna put like the sword, like
Yes,
the
like we see in the movies,
yeah?
right?
And I was like uh, nervous and excited. And but I didn't want to go to Germany. I had a lot of commitment here, and I said I don't think I can go to Germany. And at that time, they said, then you know what, we'll fly in, and we'll have an
Wow.
event. And they chose a date, which unbeknownst to me, it was actually the son of the prince's birthday to celebrate and knight me. So both the father and mother flew in twice. The first time they flew in, actually a few months after the son told me that he was wants me to be nominated and knighted. They flew in, vetted me, did a lot of background check, and then I get a call saying that they're flying in to interview me, and they
Yes.
did, and we had dinner, and then I just let it go, and then all of a sudden, 3 months later, I get a call and says, would you like to fly in, or we're flying in to see you? So I set up all that. We had a big event in Beverly Hills here at the
Yes.
other location gallery on Santa Monica. I had about a couple hundred people, the press and media is there, and it was a big deal. And I
Yes.
had no idea what to expect, but they actually gave me a what is it, like kind of pin, a brooch, and then
Mhm.
a certificate. It was interesting,
Yes. Something
and
new,
something new.
right?
And I thought it was an honor in a sense that I don't really feel like I deserve it. There's so much more people in this world
Yes.
that has done much more than me. I can only do so much, and I felt honored. And I promised the father
Mhm.
before he passed away that I would use that title in good name and make sure that what he's done and give me recognition does not go unnoticed.
Yes.
So with that title, I really don't take it like who I am as a sir,
Mhm.
but I use that internationally when I go and do charity because a lot of countries have a lot of red tape. So having a title, more like an ambassador or a
Yes.
sir, they tend to expedite the procedure so that when I have Doctors Without Borders that come with me, or when we do charity directly over there, going out to give medicine, food,
Mhm.
and to the orphanages, it gets passed much easier because I am have a title of a sir, and they
Yes.
Google and they research, so it's easier. Whereas in the past, it took me a lot longer, sometimes months, to get approved by the government
Mhm.
to even to be able to do charity work over there. And I guess because they want to make sure that there's no political agenda or anything like that. But having the title gives me a lot of leverage to do a lot more charity that I'm able to do so. In addition to that, it helps me raise more money as well, and 100% of that
Yes.
goes to the charity that are in needs.
Oh my gosh, how amazing.
That's a mouthful, so I
Yeah,
hope
no, no, no,
trying
no,
to
no,
comprise
but
it.
you broke it down very well.
The funny story about this is that in my country, I'm from Vietnam.
Mhm.
When the news broke, I got so many calls from the Vietnamese station, newspaper, media in Vietnam, and
Yes.
Vietnamese American. And when they interviewed me, there was no such translation for the title "Sir."
Yes.
So they were contemplating, okay,
What
we
do we
don't
call
know, what do
it?
we call it?
Yes.
So the name they actually came up with is translate to as hero,
Oh, I love
equivalent to that.
it.
And I was laughing as I showed
Yes.
certain people and that are Vietnamese
Mhm.
major language, and they start laughing and said, that's the best they come up with. But in my country, there's no history of knights of the Round Table or
Yes.
Lancelot or anything like that. So this is all news to all of us, and it's exciting, and it's actually an honor and
Yes.
exciting as well. So that was funny, I thought.
Yes. Culture is important to me and to many people on, that are viewers on Purpose and Passion. So let's talk about, where your parents are born and raised and how was childhood for you?
Wow. Uh, that's actually a complex question,
Yes.
and there's actually a movie that's gonna be coming out. It's in production right now.
Mhm.
The story based on my life. It's a feature movie.
Wow.
It's not a documentary. It's actually a box office movie with major big names. The script's done, and so for the last 11 months, I've been interviewed by the screenwriter and the director and producer, and the script's done. So throughout the 11 months of giving interviews and going back to my childhood, it was extremely difficult. It was
Yeah.
very cathartic, but it was very painful at times.
Yes.
To answer your question, I grew up in a very different world
Mhm.
during the war, Vietnam War, and the war seen through the eyes of a child. When the war broke, the earliest I remember is when I was 6 years old, and ultimately came to the U.S. when I was nine, almost 10 years
Wow.
old. And at that time, I saw the world through my eyes, the war.
Mhm.
And that's what the movie is going to be about. The movie is called Scarcity. I think it's going to be released 2026, during probably coinciding approximately the same time as the 50-year anniversary of the fall of
Yes.
Vietnam. So they're doing that purposely, and they want to show a war movie a little bit different, not a action pack, even though there
Yes.
are war scenes, but they want to show it through the eyes of a child and what happened to that child
Yes.
as he grew up. So for me, growing up, my grandparents were very well off, but as the communists took over, they took everything away. So my grandmother was destitute, took care of her children, and then my grandfather spiraled into depression, drank himself to death.
Mhm.
And when that happened, then my uncle, including my father, was drafted to war. My grandmother at that time was struggling to make ends meet. So when my father went to war, they thought he died. He was actually in a accident doing I think a jeep where there was a mine that exploded, and him and I think one of the general was hospitalized, and he was in a coma for over a
Mm.
year. And during that time, my birth mother remarried because she thought my father passed away, and my stepfather was not kind to me, so I was left in the street. So my grandmother asked my one of my uncle to kidnap me and take care of me. He
Yes.
did, but then a month later he was drafted, and then he died in the war as well. So then I was left with my grandmother. She couldn't take care of me, so I was put in an orphanage
Wow.
to be taken care of, and that's where I first learned my second language, which is French. And I was pretty much a rambunctious, pretty bad kid. And looking back, I understand why. I mean, at
Mm-hmm.
7 years old at that time, going through all that rejection of
Yes.
thinking your father left you, your birth mother left you, your uncle left you, and then your grandmother put you in orphanage. So I was pretty bad that ultimately the
Yes.
orphanage, I had a talk with my grandmother and said that we can't handle him. He's got to go.
Yes.
They literally kicked me out. So I lived with my grandmother, and she couldn't really take care of me. So I kind of lived in the street.
Yes.
You ever watch the movie Oliver Twist? That is exactly what it was like for me as a child for about a year. And then ultimately, my father did come back, and that was really a savior of my spirit at that time. And then he got
Wow.
remarried to a second wife, my stepmother, which I call second wife because there was a meaning to that, because
Yes.
it's taboo, and it's considered like a mistress for the stepmother to have
Mm-hmm.
that title. So again, I was not treated well. But ultimately, in 1975, because my father was in the U.S. military fighting for South Vietnam, and he was an interpreter.
Yes.
Really had a lot of top secret given to him as well. So he was given the opportunity to leave Vietnam on the last day. So I remember going with my father and stepmother and half brother. They had a My stepbrother at that time was, I think, 1 years old. And we last day of Vietnam. I remember running in the street, going to I think the embassy in the top of the building, to the helicopter. I see
Mm-hmm.
all the fighting and shooting and people in the street and death,
Yes.
and it was horrible. And I asked my father, where are we going? And I remember specifically we're going to go on a big metal bird. So, at 7 years old,
Like, okay, metal
a metal
bird.
bird.
Yeah.
And then we went on the helicopter, I remember, and then ultimately flew to Dom Nai, Bien Hoa, which is a US base there. We all got on a cargo plane, which I remember there are hundreds of people in the back cargo strapping us up. And the next thing I realized that we all passed out, woke up, we landed in Guam. And then
Wow.
Guam, we were there in the refugee camp there for several months. And then ultimately, we were taken to US Camp Pendleton in San
Mm-hmm.
Diego, and we stayed there
Yes.
for another, I believe, several months before we were um, uh, sponsored, I believe, by a family. And that's how it works.
Wow.
And that's just part of the
I
story.
know, I can just imagine because I'm just blown away because, like, where we're at now, right? Where you are now, like, wow. So, through childhood, like, I always ask people this, like, when we're a kid, they always ask us the question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what was forced on you? Because sometimes parents do become very pushy of, I need a lawyer in the family, I need a doctor, I need a nurse in the family, I need a construction person. My husband's telling my kids, you need to take a trade school, be an electrician, do cars. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So did you have that, like a dream as a child of what you wanted to do or what your family wanted you to do?
I think in all cultures, I think parents only want the best for their child.
Yes.
And my parents were no different. As a child growing up, I just learned how to survive.
Yeah.
And when we went to the US, that's another story that I also had to learn to survive. And my father and mother struggled, um, stepmother struggled in US, worked really hard. I think they work probably 12-hour shifts and then go to school afterward,
Mm.
working in a mushroom factory and picking strawberries and cabbages and all that. And then my father went to law school, and then my mother went to architect school, and they both graduated. got diplomas, degrees, and became successful. And they wanted me to be successful. So they gave me two options, literally. You either become a doctor or an engineer. That was it. I think
Yes.
for the Vietnamese community, that's the only two options. So right now in the Vietnamese American culture, the my generation, I think first generation, I think most of my friends are all doctors or engineer. So I had no drive as a child uh, to become whatever I want to be, except to survive. But I do
Okay.
feel that I had an innate ability to create. I've always been artistic, wanting to always see the world in a different way. I feel I look things differently than most people. When I see a body floating in the river when we
Yes.
escape, I see a shadow of a beautiful fairy. Or when I see a helicopter, which I don't know what it is, and a shadow of the helicopter, I see a dragonfly. So in my
Okay.
mind, I see things in the world differently. So as I grew older and I went to pre-med and going to medicine and going to reconstructive surgery, I mastered the art of mathematics, physics, anatomy, and I just I feel like it was a natural for me.
Yes.
And then my grandmother ultimately came over, and because of her is where I pursued my career, and it's in the movie. When she came over, and ultimately when she passed away, her last word to me is like, "Go with your heart," and I did. And although as much as I felt dishonoring my father and stepmother, I didn't want them to feel obligated to support me, so I left home,
Mm-hmm.
run away, so to speak, when I was in college. Supported myself, live in my car in the street, and everything I paid for. I lived in, I think at that time, a $600 car that I saved up working during my high school, two jobs at McDonald's, and I'm sorry, Burger King and Pizza Hut, saving up money to buy a $600 car, then ultimately used that for college. I got scholarship, and then I gave it all up, live in my car, and for about 3 years, I struggled. Showered clean at the gas station,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tough. But you know what? Thinking back, as bad as it wasn't as bad as was Vietnam. It was there. At least there was running water. There was
Yes.
a place to go, and there was a place to sleep in the car. And then at the same time, I worked at a uh, art supply
Yes.
and framing, and that's where my luck came in. I met a person that was doing framing for Chuck Jones.
Okay.
And Chuck Jones was a big influence on me as a child because that's how I learned my English as well. When I was sponsored, our family was sponsored by family. I watched Porky Pigs, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck every day, and that's how I learned English. So,
Yes.
and so, unbeknownst to me, one of the people came in to get this animation cells framed up to sell at their Chuck Jones gallery, and they liked how creative I was in doing everything. So that they and I looked at the work and I said, "Oh my God, I love Bugs Bunny. I love Porky Pig. This is the artist that I want to meet." So they invited me to one of the Chuck Jones show, and when I met Chuck, I fell in love with him, and he just thought
Yes.
I think he felt like I was his grandson almost. So he recommended me to talk to one of the corporate headquarters to do some framing because he heard that I was a great design at framing and I was
Mm-hmm.
one of the framer as well at the art supply store. So that's how I got started. I went to them. They gave me a huge
Wow.
body of work to frame up, and I didn't know what to charge. I gave a number, and was they said this is what they're paying, and I matched it, and I made money, and I saved every penny, and eventually I opened a small framing studio, garage hole in the wall, did hundreds, if not thousands, of their frames. Was enough to hire people, and at that time, I was still sleeping at the studio,
Yes.
and save every penny, and ultimately open my own art gallery in Laguna Beach. And it just grows and grows, and that's what happened.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candace Barr. Order your copy today.
That's what happened.
So you
That's
got into the art
I got into
industry.
the art industry, and I always wanted to be an artist.
Wow.
So that's why I gave up my medical career because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I want to give something back that is much more enduring. because I felt
Yes.
like if I was a doctor, I can probably heal maybe several hundred, if maybe 1,000 people in my lifetime. But imagine if I did a statement, an artwork of painting or sculpture that lasts, like Da Vinci, Caravaggio, Bernini, that hundreds of years, if not ultimately thousands of years,
Mm.
not only with hundreds or thousands, but could be millions of people that could learn and appreciate and understand my
Yes.
philosophy, that would hopefully not physically heal them, but heal them possibly emotionally and enlighten them intellectually as well. So then that's what I decided to do, is leave a legacy behind. Because at that time I didn't realize it, but I have no um, legacy left, in a sense that my half brother and I are estranged.
Yes.
I have no family left. I'm pretty much it. And the last my link, and I have no children. So this is going to be my legacy. My children are my artwork and
Yes.
my statement of what I want to leave behind.
So, Sir Daniel, what is your purpose and passion on this earth?
My purpose and passion is to leave a positive impact, so that when I leave, um, I feel that I've left something positive in this world. My motto has always been the only um, acknowledgement, or uh, what did I usually say to people when they ask? The only purpose and sense of life in your existence is the positive influence you leave behind when you leave this world.
Yes.
That's my motto. So for me, I want to leave a positive influence of my artwork, so that people can see about my visual language, my philosophy.
Yes.
And my philosophy is about, I call it existential surrealism. And I'm giving a lot of uh, seminar and teaching a lot of artists about that style as well. But what it is incorporating about life and existence, and that one cannot be without the other. There will be no sweet without the sour. There
Yes.
will be no light without dark, no life
Yes.
without death, no triumphant without struggle. So my life, based on my struggle as an orphan and also living in the street and where I am now, is an extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate both. And I
Yes.
want to share that to the world, saying that no matter what happens in your life, number one, never give up. Number two, it doesn't
Yes.
mean
That's
one is
powerful.
necessarily bigger or better than the other. Just because we don't understand death doesn't mean that death is bad.
Yeah.
Without death, there's no appreciation for life. And and death, for example, and I come to terms with this because both my
Mm-hmm.
stepmother and my father and my grandmother, they all passed away. I have no one left.
Yes.
So to me, I look at death is that we shouldn't be afraid of it, because here's why.
Exactly.
Why you should be afraid of something that while you're here, it doesn't exist. Why are you afraid of it? And when you're gone, you're not here to understand death. So why
Yes.
be afraid of something that is non-existent when you're gone?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're here, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
So that's how I see it. And I want to give that philosophy in my paintings and sculpture as a visual language. So no matter what language or what country, what culture you're in, you can see it and understand it. And I have people, when I have a museum exhibition or exhibit at galleries, when I talk to them or I want to see them, they cry.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them may have terminal illness, passing of a loved one, divorce, loss of a child, family member. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
When they see my work, they understand and then embrace their existence. And that's what I want to leave behind, is that no matter what happens to your life, embrace it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or good. It is an experience. It is a lesson. It
Mm-hmm.
is something that life, as we know it, is given to us to understand. And the emotion there is what we are given by God, by a higher force, to
Yes.
feel. I rather feel something than nothing. I rather feel pain and understand what that is. So when I feel happiness and
Yes.
joy,
Then you
I
understand.
appreciate it. It's like, if all your life, all you're given is cupcakes and sweets and candy, you won't appreciate it unless you taste the bitterness of
Yes.
something that's bitter.
Oh man. Oh boy. When I see the timepiece, when I'm working with my at-risk youth in LA, I tell them like most of the kids they feel they're not going to make it to age 18, which I was like that, right? I did obituaries in junior high, and I share with the youth. I say you have to find your purpose to live passionate in this lifetime, because some of us live to be short lives, medium lives, and long lasting life till they're 100 years old. But do you know when your expiration date is? And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. So I try to help them find their purpose so they can live out their passion. And the timepiece for me, that's what it reminds me of, like being on this earth, going through our trials and tribulations, and then the time is just ticking because eventually we have to cross over. And so your artwork is, to me, like you said, a person losing their child, right? A loved one, a grandfather, things of that nature. And it's beautiful because I'm not scared of death and at all. And I think, when you look at flowers, you see them beautiful, full of life. And then there's the process, right? When they die. My mom always tell me, why do you keep dead flowers? And I'm like, because I love them. I love the process. And she just, trips out on that. So when I look at that timepiece for art, it hits my spirit because of what I've been through as a child till this day. I always thought it was a curse, but now I'm understanding it's a gift from God. And so when I look at most of your artwork, it's beautiful, especially the angels, because I believe in angels.
I
You
I I,
know,
I believe also in the higher force,
yes,
God, angel. They are all with us. You mentioned
yes,
about the clock and time. It's interesting. You mentioned about the roses, then the petals falling. I'm
yes,
glad that you see my Timeless Present series and Holding Time as significant because to me, it is a purpose. Time, we don't understand it, so we create time based on what our understanding is. So,
yes,
in essence, time is a man-made construct to have us understand and appreciate. So when you see a rose as it
hmm,
deteriorates, if it doesn't deteriorate, you won't appreciate that rose as much as knowing that the
yes,
time that we construct in our mind, that will eventually fade, so you appreciate it. The same with life.
yes,
Knowing that our life has a time limit because we created that time limit as we understand it.
hmm,
We appreciate our existence and what we can do in our timeline so
yes,
that we can make the world a better place. Now, in my work, though, the clock goes beyond that. The time and the clock elements and the mechanism shows that because time is man made, we control time. If we're making time
yes,
in how we understand it, we control not in just this lifetime, but also when we cross over, we also control that timeline, but we don't know what that is yet. Just like we
yes,
don't know what's going to happen the next day or
yeah,
the next year, but we know time. But we
yes,
don't know what the crossing over is as well. But as
yes,
long as we know that we control that, we made time. It is a man made construct. So knowing that should give us much more appreciation and
yes, I
understanding
agree.
of our existence and
I agree.
embracing what our future and crossing over would be. And that's what my work is. It's very deep, very philosophical. And when I was studying in college, pre med, I took a lot of philosophy class, studying from Sartre to Descartes to all these great philosophers in the past. And that intrigued me. And I'm trying to incorporate it rather than trying to read it. I'm trying to incorporate it as a visual language
Mm-hmm.
in my painting and three-dimensional sculpture so that everyone can appreciate it. Because when I was reading those
Yes.
books by these great philosophers, it was difficult and it was sometimes nauseating, like nausea by Sartre. And I don't feel like most people can get through it. So what I
Yeah.
want to do is create something that's a little bit more pleasing to the
Yeah.
eyes and tactile, and that they can appreciate. And now I'm even going further, going into cinematic art.
Yes.
So that is very exciting to me as well.
So my next question is, what does success looks like for you? Because I'm hearing your story from the past to where we're at in Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? Like, wow.
I had a lot of people ask me what success is. To me, some people look at it as, oh, success doesn't mean that you have a big house, nice cars, great money in the bank. What is it success for you? And I thought hard about it. And success to me is, like I mentioned, my motto is that
Yes.
during your lifetime, the positive influence that you give on others is the success for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I can do in my lifetime that has given joy, happiness, or making a difference
Oh my gosh.
positively to others,
Yes.
that to me is success. Whether I have $1 in my bank account or $1 million, it's irrelevant if
Yes.
I can make a difference to someone else in my lifetime. To me, sometimes the cost of doing that may cost nothing. smiling to someone, saying hello to someone,
Yes.
and having them smile back. You don't know what they're going through, but changing and making that slight difference, to me, that's success. If I walk
Wow.
by someone and you see them kind of sad, you look up to them and say, "Hi, how are you? Have a wonderful day." It doesn't cost you anything, but imagine what it could do to that person
Yes.
and in their life. And if you can do that, to me, I'm successful by being able to do
I love that. I
that.
really do. I agree. I agree with that.
And I'm doing that hopefully through my art. So if I make a difference in my painting and sculptures and my cinematic art and making a difference in someone's life
Hmm.
positively, that to me is success.
Yes, I love it. So, what's the next for you, Sir Daniel?
Call me Daniel
I love it.
because
That's why I like Sir Daniel. I like it. But I'll start calling you Daniel after this, but I have to
yeah.
say it because I like it the way it sounds.
It's always awkward when I hear Sir Daniel because I never visualize or consider myself Sir, because sometimes I feel like, I don't deserve this. There's so much more people
Yes.
out there that are doing so much more to the world. And like I said, we can only help one person at a time.
Yes.
So to me, it's almost comical, but I embrace it.
Yes.
Now, what's next for me? There's a lot going on this year. I'm working on some more monumental pieces that I am unveiling this year. So the last year, I did a short film called
Hmm.
Creation, and it is an 18-minute short film that I'm in, no dialogue, and it is a expression of visual language
Hmm.
through
Okay.
cinematic art. And I created artwork in there, but it's a story. It's something amazing, and I didn't, I did it to give it to collectors and people who appreciate my work. And then somebody mentioned that they could submit it to International Film Festival, and
Hmm.
it won 6 international awards worldwide and got, I believe, into 16 international film festivals.
Yes.
And that was one part of a trilogy short film that I wanted to do. So this year, in a couple months, in May of this year, we are going to be in production for the second installment, a short film called Ectropy, which means from chaos to order. And
Wow.
it is it's a prequel to Creation. And then the following year, it will be the third installment of the short film called Entropy, which is order to chaos. And then, of course, the whole trilogy is done. So Entropy, the last one next year, is order to chaos. And then we go from the beginning, which is what we're doing this year,
Hmm.
Ectropy, which is chaos to order, and then Creation, and then Entropy. So it's a trilogy of short film that really encompasses and explains my philosophy of existential surrealism and gives hopefully people to have a better understanding about my philosophy through
Hmm.
my art, but visualizing it through cinematic art with no dialogue but with music and sound. And then ultimately, after the trilogy is done, then there's going to be a feature box office movie
Yes.
made based on the trilogy. And I'm in that one, and it's again no dialogue. And that's separate from the scarcity movie that Hollywood is directing and producing about my life based on this
Hmm.
true story. But I'm not in that one. I just want to make sure that the accuracy in the screenwriting and the script's correct. But that's happening this year. So I'm excited for that because that's a big deal
Yes, it is.
for me. And next week, I'm actually flying to Asia, to Vietnam, my home country again, because the uh, Ho Chi Minh Film Festival wants to speak to me to premiere and screen my my movie there. But also, the director wants to scout the location for the movie, and they
Hmm.
want to get my input of how I used to live as a child, what I remember, so they can do completely a set stage for that feature film as well. So this year, aside from the Ectropy film and my monumental sculpture, I am excited to share more of my vision now going back to Asia and giving them what I'm doing now. At the same time, enlighten them more about my work because next year will be the 50-year anniversary of the fall of Vietnam.
Hmm.
And I want to share with the world, not just Vietnam, but also Vietnamese American and first, second generation refugees, that the impact of war through the child's eye could be positive and not just always negative.
Yes. Thank you so much. How can our viewers find you on social media?
Well, I'm on Instagram as Sir Daniel Winn. definitely follow me, message me. I look at all my posts, and even if I don't answer because of my time, I eventually get to it. Or on Facebook. On Facebook, I have, I believe, three. There's Sir Daniel Winn fan page, but also Daniel Winn, Sir Daniel Winn. And that one, I'm active as well. I'm in more the 80s, 90s
Yes,
child, so
yes.
then I'm Facebook.
Facebook's is great.
Instagram is a bit more younger generation, and now
Yes.
there's TikTok, which I've not crossed over yet,
Yes, me either.
and eventually I will. But because of my time frame, I have my publicist hopefully take care of that. But I like to be on social media because I think that is the culture and the world that we live in. And through social media, I feel that it can expand and share my vision and my philosophy much
Yes.
more to the younger generation to really understand the philosophy of my work and about life existence and embracing what this world represents. Because a lot of people may question, what is the meaning of life? What is our purpose in this world? I'm
Yes.
hoping to capture what I feel based on my experience and give that in my painting and sculpture as visual language for the younger generation and for the new generation in the future to appreciate. So look for me on Instagram, Sir Daniel Winn, or Daniel Winn on Facebook. And like I said, I will answer whoever requests, and I will also announce and refer you to a lot of my exhibition coming up, events, screening in Hollywood, movies, premiere, you name it. I'll let you know and I'll post it. But connect with me, and I hope that you follow me, and I can give you a lot more amazing philosophy of my vision and journey.
Thank you. Well, this is Raina Carrillo signing out. But before I end, I want to give a huge shout out to my cousin Sydney Broussard for making this possible. And once again, subscribe, like, and comment on Luxe Media Studios on YouTube. Until then, have a blessed day. Bye.